This excerpt was taken from a full bloom interview with guitarist Mick Sweda. This clip has never been published. If you haven't already, make sure to listen to our BulletBoys Inside the Album interview with Mick. A link to that interview, plus a ton of other excerpts, can be found in the description. If you'd like to be notified as more from our King Kobra interview is uploaded, hit the subscribe button and click the bell. I've got to ask you about Mark Free and your take on that. He later transitioned into a woman and became Marcie Free. But what was he like back in the day?
Well, Mark and I got along very well. Frankly, he was a little more, on the serious side, very professional. I would say the best singer I've ever worked with. It was always an honor and a pleasure to go on stage with him because he performed superbly every night, sometimes under circumstances that were kind of daunting, in terms of, because back then you didn't have in-ears. I mean, everything was loud, but he was always, spot on with his pitch. But, you always knew something was a little different. He didn't necessarily like to hang out with us on a personal level. He would always sort of venture back to, his home, and it just seemed like he considered this his job, and rightfully so. So I always knew something was a little different with him. Wasn't ever sure what it was. He had a beautiful girlfriend at the time that we were in the band together. So yeah, when that came to light, I can't say I was shocked or surprised, but certainly not something I would have predicted based on his behavior. So
he dates women? Or she?
Oh, I don't know anything about Marcie now.
I got you.
I know that when we're in touch, he's always very he's very nice to me, and I imagine that we would consider each other friends at this point. But when I think back to that, I think a better way to say what I was trying to say earlier is that I think I could see that there were like struggles going on, and I feel bad for that. I wish that I'd been more aware of what he clearly was going through at that time, and could have been more of a friend and understanding. But obviously I was completely unaware of whatever he was going through. It was apparent that he had a lot on his mind, at certain points in time. But that's water under the bridge, and we all wish we could have done things differently at some point, I guess.
And I'm assuming when you're on tour and you're kind of in closer quarters with each other and he can't kind of disappear to home, I'm assuming there's groupies around and stuff like that. He just wasn't around during those times? Yeah,
he was a very faithful partner, and he never, to my knowledge, indulged in any of those sorts of things. He was always, like I said, he was very professional, and just kind of look at it as his job. Took very good care of his voice, obviously. Was always pretty straight edge as far as any indulgences. He took very good care of himself, and was a consummate pro, and I respect that about him, and always will.
And live, his voice held up every night?
Well, I mean, he's got a very strong voice, and there were times when it was on the verge of being abused with this material. I mean, this was difficult material to sing night after night. Like I said, we were kind of traveling, and I remember getting sick myself on the way out to our first date, because we're riding in this old banged up motorhome, and it's freezing cold, and we're going through Colorado in the snow. So it was a chore in and of itself just to take care of your health. And I know there were some nights when he had to fight through, and as I'm sure you could guess, he did it with aplomb. He was always keeping his voice in shape first and foremost. Again, the best singer I've ever worked with, and always on point, always able to adjust to what the producer might throw at him. I mean, just a consummate pro. I mean, he was a session singer even before King Kobra. He was very comfortable in the studio, and again, with the challenging material that we were doing, he was right there.
It was like a Lou Gramm or something in a hard rock band.
Yeah.
I always thought he had that kind of level of voice, which was incredibly commercial. It's almost amazing that King Kobra didn't kind of hit bigger just because of it had a lot of pop kind of elements to it.
That's right. And, some of that stuff is very histrionic. I mean, he could hit some notes that were extremely impressive, and he always was able to capture that live as well.